Hey, I'm Candace, your host, and if you're ready to grow your business and build your authority by getting booked on podcasts, I've got something special for you. I'm launching a brand new course that will walk you through exactly how to get booked on podcasts. Everything from identifying the right shows to pitching, preparing for interviews, and leveraging your guest appearances for growth. Plus, if you sign up for the waitlist now, you'll get early access to the course and these special bonuses. When you officially enroll in the course, you'll save $50 and get a free one-on-one strategy call with me to help you prep your speaking points and align your offers. These bonuses are limited and end on April 13th, so make sure to sign up today. Head to the link in the show notes to join and get started on your podcast guesting journey. I can't wait to help you get booked and start sharing your message with the world. Now let's dive into today's episode. All right, welcome back, everyone. I have Jenna Warriner. She's a marketing coach, social media management agency owner, and the host of Shiny New Clients podcast. Through her program, Magic Marketing Machine, she helps service-based business owners use her proven marketing formula to look amazing on Instagram, run their accounts in 15 minutes a day, and turn their followers into clients. Welcome, Jenna. I have been telling all of my people today that I have Instagram royalty on the show. Welcome. I'm so glad you could be here.
Oh, that's funny. I don't know about all that, but I'll take it. I'll take a majestic title.
So why don't you start with telling us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey, and were you always an entrepreneur, or how did you make that jump into it?
I grew up as an actor, actually. I was on stage from the time I was like 9, and I'm insanely extroverted. And then I pursued that post-secondary. Like I went to college for musical theater. I got into a little bit of film and TV and doing commercial work, which also meant, as it does for so many people, that I was a bartender. So I was like an actor, bartender, trying to make it, doing all the things to make it as an actor, all the things they tell you to do. And it's a hard slog. It's a really hard career to follow. And what I found with being an actor is I'm a really driven person. And even though I did all the things, I never had control over my outcome. So at the end of the day, you're sitting in front of a panel of people and they're deciding what happens to you next. And if you get the role, felt like I never had control over my career, and the amount I worked and how hard I worked did not directly impact the results I was getting. And once I started into entrepreneurship and I kind of got thrust into having my own business, I was like, would you look at that? The harder I work, the more money I make, or the more effort I put in, the more I get to take out of it. So I was hooked right away because I was actually getting somewhere with my career.
Isn't that fascinating when you have that realization? I was a teacher before this for 13 years. And when that first truth bomb hit me, I was like, there's a whole new world out there of possibilities. Your work and your effort directly impacts your income and your success versus it didn't matter what you did. It was either like you in the hands of someone else, or it just was a set pay where it didn't matter if you did above and beyond. You said you were pushed into kind of accidentally your job, your own business. Tell me about that.
There were a couple things that happened, and I only can reflect upon them now that they're in the rearview mirror. But essentially, one of the things people say to actors is to make your own work. Right. So since that's the way that you can have control is you make your own work. So I, like a good little actor, made my own work, and I started co-writing a show with a friend, and we took the show on tour, and I was going across Canada because I'm up here in Canada, literally sleeping in hostels between performances, singing to theaters that were like 200-seat theaters with 16 people in the audience. Like, it was a fun time, but it was not a lucrative time, and I wouldn't have counted it as a successful time. And I actually flew home between two cities to bartend to make enough money to continue the tour. When I got back to Toronto, I was like hanging out at a place I used to hang out with a lot of performers, and 2 people in 1 week said, "Congratulations on your success." That sent me into like an existential what moment, because I'm like, what are they counting as success? Like I'm tired. I hit the pavement. I threw my back out in Calgary. Like, what do you mean? Or Edmonton or wherever I was. What do you mean success? And so I really started thinking about it. I'd always been really good at social media. I have an awareness around publicity. And on tour, I got us some really good press. Like I got us on breakfast television and the cover of the entertainment section of the newspaper. And every bit of press I got in real life would translate onto social media. Didn't translate into ticket sales necessarily because I didn't have a community in those places. Like I was a stranger in those cities, but everyone back at home who was seeing that on social media was really impressed by that. And I thought, that's wild, the like impact social media can have and this world of publicity seemed so fascinating. So I started learning about it. I started learning about digital marketing and the entire landscape of it. I got myself a little scholarship to go to a program to teach me a bit about it for a few months. From there, I got a really cool sort of mentorship where just by a random fluke, this publicist was coming to Toronto to work on the Toronto International Film Festival, which is a really big deal. And she's like this fancy LA publicist, and she needed someone in Toronto to support her. And really randomly, two people recommended me to her. And she said, hey, like, I don't know anything about social media. If you'll teach me about social media, I'll teach you about PR. So then for the next couple of years, I was being mentored by this fabulous publicist. And then while that was happening, I was like experiencing this inner push-pull of like, I'm not a marketer, I am an actor. Like I've been an actor for my entire life. That is like deeply entwined with my identity. Then I was like volunteering at a yoga studio, and the owner forced me to take over the social media. Like he just would not take no for an answer. I said no a million times because I had no idea what I was doing, but I had shown him where the buttons were one day. So he just thought it had to be me, until eventually he just said, Jenna, when's a good day to come in and talk about your rate? No, okay, fine. I guess I'll do this for an extra $300 a month. Sure. Right. But then I started that, and that got me hooked. I was like, I am good at this. I'm like bringing influencers in from all over the city to do like yoga photo shoots and give us like energy, like exchanges for shout outs. And I'm running contests on Facebook, and I started freaking loving it. So then I asked my bar if I could run their social media, and they blew up my bar's social media where I worked as a bartender. And so all these things kind of happened at once, where in hindsight, I was just kind of being swept into this world. And now I'm like looking around like, oh, wow, where have I ended up?
That is fascinating. And it's almost like the universe was not going to let you say no to the path that it had for you.
I really believe that. And this has been so much easier too. Yes, it's hard. Like, yes, when you're first starting out in business, like you stay up too late, you don't eat enough, you forget to brush your teeth. It's tricky, you know? But at the end of the day, finding success this way was way easier than the alternative. And another thing is, when I was bartending, I was starting to get really cooked. Like I was, you know, I was getting sick, and I was tired, and I was getting in fights, and I was like, not like fist fights, but you know, like my life was gray. I remember my naturopath actually said to me at the time, because I'm going to her, like, fix me. And she would be like, you know, the real problem is that you work in a bar, right? And she said, the thing is, if you don't make a decision, the universe will make it for you. And it's usually pretty messy.
I agree with that 100%. If you're describing how I felt at the end of my teaching career, because I had my own little kids at home, and I would come home so drained from it. And I was going the natural, like, empath healing energy route. Like, if I just put enough crystals in my doorways of my classroom, maybe it'll work and I can do this. And it was like, no, this is the problem. And while there's so many things I loved about teaching, I couldn't not pour myself out every day, to the point where I came home so empty for my own children. And that just wore on me so much. So I completely agree with you that it's that big of a deal. Do you feel like that has to do with working in alignment and knowing when you're truly in alignment, even though you still might be grinding or you still might be staying up too late working, that it's in alignment, so there's a completely different feeling to it?
You know, it's hard to know for me in any given moment. And I'm like a generator, and I'm forward thinking, and I'm always kind of thinking about the next thing. It can be hard to know if you're on the right path when you're actively walking on that path. And I find it a little bit easier to look back and be like, oh, right. Okay, now it makes sense that I was in the right place. Because every day we're just trying to get through the day. In my program, Magic Marketing Machine, that's where I help service-based business owners grow and get clients from Instagram. And so occasionally we'll have mediums and people that are in more spiritual businesses join. And so I was like coaching this woman on a live call, and I gave her support to do with her marketing. And then she's like, also, I have a message for you. Would this be a good place to say it? Or is there a different way you want me to get it to you? And I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And her wife was there, and she's like medium shit. Like, that's what she's referring to. Like, she has a message for you. And I was like, okay, well, now you have to say it because I can't not know. And it was like energy of my late uncle coming through and just talking about how cool this is what I was doing. And I think there was even an implication of like, I used to be doing something cool, but this is really cool. And this is a really cool path. sometimes you doubt yourself, but like stay on this path, that sort of a thing. And she described him and I'm like, oh my, like that's wild. And so I think it's a gift for anyone who knows that you're in the right spot when you're in it. I commend you. And it's a gift when we have those moments that kind of make us feel like we are actively presently in the right place.
Yes, that's a really good explanation of that. When you're in it, it's really hard to know. When you reflect back, then it becomes really clear. But how awesome when the universe does send us those little moments once in a while to affirm us and be like, no, you keep walking, you're on the right path. But from day to day, that's not happening from day to day, and it can get isolating or lonely. With that, what would you say do you do to keep your mindset in a really great place? Because entrepreneurship and being your own boss can really have its ups and downs like a roller coaster. What do you do for yourself to stay in that space?
Mindset is honestly the name of the game. And if you can be mentally resilient and, strong, then you're going to stay in the game longer, like stay in business longer. I have a mindset coach right now because I basically had like a very big up level where we multiplied the business by a bazillion and I wasn't really prepared for it. And so I need support. I am aware enough to know that I need support on how to like behave at this new tier. I actually wanted to say this to your audience is that we need to be aware of the levels that we're at and thankful and proud of the level because there will always be another freaking level. Honestly, it tears your brain apart because as soon as you're trying to get your first few clients, even all your ad targeting and everything is like, you're going to start a business. Here you go. Here's what you need. Yay, 2K months. Yay, haha, you're making $2,000 a month. And then when you get there, it's like, uh-oh, you still suck until you're making 10K months. Haha, yay, you want a 6-figure business. And then once you get to that, you're like, well, how about multiple six? And you get to that, you're like, how about 7 figures? Like you're always going to be going toward the next thing. Or how about you remove yourself and then now you have an agency and you're not running it anymore by yourself. And like, that's the thing you should be working for. So the only way to survive is to be proud of the wins and try not to get desensitized to those wins and try and be as conscious as you can of, yes, I had an amazing client conversation today. They didn't buy, but now I am better at having conversations with clients. Or I landed the client and they might not be perfect, but I'm that much more clear on who my perfect client is. Honor those wins. Or I made $50, yay. Or I made $500, yay. Like we have to be proud of those moments.
Oh my gosh. Preach it. Amen. Absolutely. It's so easy to get in this comparisonitis and then it just sucks the joy and pride out of anything you're doing because it's never enough. Thank you so much for just bringing that whole conversation right there to us. Let's go to your expertise a bit. What are some things that people can do early on in their business? They just started one, or where's the biggest bang for their buck in marketing? Is it to go straight to Instagram? How do you recommend or navigate those pieces?
So the cool thing is the questions people ask you, like business coaches and marketers or whatever at the beginning of your business are the same questions we are going to ask at no matter what tier you're at. So like something that can be frustrating is like every time you sign up with a new coach, they're like tearing apart who's your ideal client? What transformation do you give your clients? What's your messaging? What's your elevator pitch? Like these are things we work on in my program. And whether you're 1 year in business or 10 years in business, the ABCs are still the ABCs. We still need to go back to those answers. So if you can start by getting really clear on those, that's awesome. Who are you serving? What result do they get by working with you? How is their life different after they are done working with you? And then keep asking yourself that. And as your business grows, and maybe even quarterly, come back to those answers. I teach Instagram. It used to be all social media, and then we kind of honed in on Instagram. It doesn't matter where you go. There's billions of people on all the different platforms. You can find your ideal client on literally any platform. The way to decide is just kind of which one do you like? Because we're also looking for sustainability in your strategy, what you're posting, where you're posting. We want you to be able to sustain that, especially until you have a team that can help you or like a virtual assistant that can help you. So if you absolutely despise TikTok, don't go on TikTok. If you hate it, it's going to be a slog. You're not going to have fun, but know that you can pretty much find whoever you want, wherever you want, and then you just get to decide. And I also recommend choosing one and getting really good at that before you start splitting your energy. And then you can do only okay on every platform instead of really, really good on one.
For sure. Are there any red flags or don'ts that you would say for people just starting out on social media?
Don't try and be perfect, because you literally can't. The more you post, the better you'll get at it, the clearer you'll get, the faster you get. If you try and just post one post a week and you make it absolutely perfect, your numbers wise, you're going to lose the game. A lot of people do that. Like, you're allowed to change your mind. You could say your audience is cups today and plates tomorrow. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to change your mind. And for sure, there might be little consequences here or there. But if you don't post at all, then you're not getting in front of anybody.
Are you an entrepreneur looking to start or grow your business while feeling supported and seen every step of the way? Join the Aligned Business Collective, the monthly membership I co-host with Andrea Hansen and Brittany Williams, designed for entrepreneurs like you. This is your space to connect, learn, and build a business that truly works for you, while we hold you accountable with our weekly calls and on-demand coaching. Head to the link in the show notes to learn more and join today.
Is there a magic number? And I'm thinking the answer more is whatever you can sustain. But if someone could sustain any level, is there kind of a sweet spot you feel like of posting or stories or reels, or like, where does that land?
You're absolutely right. Sustaining it is more important. But, at the same time, people are looking for just a blanket number. And I get asked this question a lot. So like, if me giving you a number means you actually do it, then at least 3 posts a week and stories 5 days a week there. If you can do more, let's do 3 reels a week, 1 carousel, 1 graphic, and stories every day, 5 days a week. Like, if that helps, great, go for it. But I don't know that it's like the most important thing. I like people that build like a strategy where the ingredients are more important. Like, what we're posting is probably more important. But what we have been told by the apps is like they want consistency, and they never actually define what that consistency means. They just say consistent, and it's kind of like left to our devices.
You said ingredients in their posts. How does someone get clearer or get more clarity around who they're talking to? Or is it just come with reps and experience and taking on more calls and learning who it is that you are talking to? Is there any guidance you have in that of getting clear on who your person is that you're speaking to?
There's a few ways you can go about if you're trying to decide on who your ideal client is. One thing you can do that's really easy is just look back and say, out of the people you've worked with, who did you love working with the most? And what defines them? Like, what are they like? What was their problem? And what was the result like once you solved that problem? Like, that'd be a good way to just kind of figure it out. For a lot of people, your ideal client is whoever you were X number of years ago. So maybe you overcame something and now you're going to help people who were in the same position as you get to that new place. There's different ways to figure out your ideal client and figure out your messaging, but what gets us stuck is usually the mindset around it. We think, and a beginner business owner, it's totally normal to think that you're opening up your opportunities by believing you're just going to serve everybody. One time I remember I was years ago, t-shirt company reached out for social media management. I asked them who their ideal client was, and they were like, anybody. It's men and women of all ages. And as the adage goes, if you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. It's really important for us to remind our brains that rules like that, like quote unquote rules about choosing an ideal client and getting clear on the transformation, it can be a really frustrating process, but we're not trying to harm you. We're not trying to hurt you. We're not trying to limit you. We're not trying, it like feels like our brain is under attack. And that's not it. We're truly doing this because at the end of the day, it's going to be easier. People are more likely to pay big money for a specific result than they are for a service provider who kind of helps everybody kind of do anything.
Absolutely. What do you say to the person that says, well, I don't want to sound like I'm selling all the time, and so I don't know what to post or share because I'll just sound like I'm selling? What do you say to that?
Firstly, what's wrong with selling? If we have like mindset blocks around selling, it's in everyone's best interest for you to solve them, right? And pay attention to them and find some ways around them. Because if you're a service provider, then you offer something the world needs, right? You're selling people something they either want or they need, something that's going to fix something in their life or make them more money or make them happier or make them get along with their family better. So they need you. And it's kind of a disservice to not sell to them. Now, if the concern is that your content feels like it's always selling, then I would say you need a content strategy that offsets that. So in the content strategy, the way I teach it is you need growth content, nurture content, and sales content. You need all three pieces of the puzzle in order to get clients from Instagram, because you need some stuff that's going to grow your account and get new eyeballs on you and just be fun and be like a cool place to hang out, make people want to return to your page. Then you need the nurture stuff that makes them trust you and trust your expertise and love you and want to work with you. And then when you sell to them, they're like, sign me up.
So is there anything that you know now that you wish you knew then? I'm sure there's lots, but is there something that you would share to that beginning entrepreneur that you wish you knew in the beginning that you know now?
I think it was probably a big change when I was able to take things that happened that were like, quote unquote, bad in my business and realize they were all serving me. So like if a relationship with a client goes south, okay, that's going to be really frustrating. That's going to keep you up in the moment, but it's going to strengthen every future relationship you have with your clients because you're not going to make those same mistakes again. For a while, I think I swung too far on taking responsibility for all of the problems in my business. And it started like ripping me to shreds. But then I was able to find a middle ground of like taking responsibility while seeing the whole picture and using every shortfall as an opportunity to improve next time. I couldn't have learned that earlier. Like I had to learn that and believe it and act on it in the time that I did, you know?
That's so true. Sometimes there's just lessons that are meant to be learned when they're meant to be learned, and you can't really skip and fast forward them.
Like right now, sometimes stuff happens in my business. Then I have the story, I have the problem, I have the solution we tried, the solution that worked, the solution that didn't work. And I now understand why the business coaches I had early in my career were so confident when they were giving me answers. It's because they'd seen those situations before. Just like now I can give really confident answers because I have seen, nothing's just in theory. Or not as much as just in theory anymore. It's like, no, I've actually seen it happen and I can see it go well and I can see it go south.
And that makes me think of how I've had clients in our membership where they're like, I don't know if I can do this because I don't know enough yet. And then the market's too saturated. There's already coaches in this field or this, that, the other. But like you just said, there is a time and a place for everyone. And all you're really doing is teaching that person that's a couple steps behind you because you walk the walk and you have those experiences. Like you said, your coaches were so confident in knowing, no, this is the advice because this is how it'll play out because they lived it, they did it, they experienced it. And so we have a lot more skills or credibility than I think we give ourselves credit. And I wonder if that's a female thing or not. For me, I felt a lot like I need to have a degree in something. You know, I was trained that I needed to go to college, I go to get a degree, and that's what I'd get a job. And that's how I became a teacher. And so this freelance entrepreneurial world is so different than that.
The way that I heard it explained one time, kind of the thing that you were just saying about being more advanced than the person you're teaching, I heard it explained once as you don't need to know grade 12 trigonometry to teach grade 2 addition and subtraction, right? You only need grade 3 math to teach grade 2 math. And the trigonometry person is not interested in teaching addition. Like they want to do stuff that's a little bit more advanced. And that's why you also find people in my position are like creating masterminds and creating higher level trainings because we like want to teach the more advanced stuff. And then everybody gets to kind of shift into their role. So there's definitely room for everyone.
What does your day look like in the position you are as an entrepreneur? What's a random day look like for you?
It's changing so much now. I had to bring on an operations person because I'm in the part of my business where it's like becoming the CEO of the company. I need to really recognize where my strengths are, the things that only I can do right now, and do mostly that. It's a lot of training people, like training coaches to take over my program and thinking up cool new things and having my operations person tell me, as she did yesterday, Jenna, you've given me like 7 priority items. We need to choose what the actual priorities are. So doing that. But then I also do a lot of coaching. So like I coach my program members on Wednesdays. So like Tuesday nights are reading their questions and mapping out what I'm going to say to them. And then Tuesdays is teaching for like 5 hours. And then Thursdays are doing video reviews because people who can't come to the calls, I'm kind of getting into the weeds here, but people who can't come to the calls, I do video reviews. So all today I've just been like doing video reviews, but it's so funny. It's like you do less and less and less, and then try and put yourself into the spots where your skills are going to be used the best and hand off anything that's not your expertise. That's kind of how it goes.
Is there things in the works for 2024 that people should be looking for? Or like how someone, if they're listening, would want to work with you?
Happy to say we're booked out for social media management, and we might bring on more writers and like expand the agency, but we also might not in 2024 probably make a decision on that. That's probably on my to-do list. But anyway, the way to work with me is to join my program. And we're going to put a free training in the show notes of this episode called How to Get Clients from Instagram Without Wasting Hours Glued to Your Phone. So it tells the exact formula that my clients use inside the program to run your account in 15 minutes a day, make amazing content, like systemize your strategy so you always know what the heck to post, but also start actually getting clients from the content that you post. And that training kind of effectively acts as if it were day one of the program. So there's a lot in there. There's a lot of like stuff that you can actionably apply right now to start doing better on Instagram. But there's also an offer to enroll once you get to the end if you want to join me, if it feels like it's right for you.
Perfect. And I always like to end with, what message would you like the listeners to take away today if they remember nothing else?
Make a decision on where you want to go. And also know that you can change your mind later. But having a direction, even if it sounds like pie in the sky right now, I want 20 new clients in 2024. Even if it feels like too big, if you know where you want to go, you can kind of cross-reference all the decisions you make on a day-to-day or week-to-week or quarterly. I know when I was first starting out, I was so in the weeds with a client load that I couldn't handle and more work than there were hours in the day and nothing streamlined and clients texting me and not knowing how to communicate properly and like me not knowing how to communicate properly. You can get stuck there and then burn out and resent your beautiful business that you're building. So spending just a little bit of time away from the chaos, making a decision on where you want to go, even if you then return to the chaos moments later, I think is really, really valuable.
Thank you for that. And finally, where's the best place where someone can connect with you and follow along?
Yeah, I mean, go watch the webinar or I'm Jenna's page on Instagram, JENNASPAIGE. It's my middle name and a play on words.
Yes, love it. I will tag everything that we mentioned in the episode in the show notes for the listeners. And I just thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're ready for podcast mentoring, whether it's setup, editing, planning, or guesting, you can book a one-on-one call with me through the link in the show notes. I hope you feel seen, inspired, and like your dreams and goals are completely valid, because they are. See you next Tuesday.